Need for design. Design is started by the man learned to write and read. He started by drawing. Drawing was the way to eliminate idea, thought, and expression. Drawing or writing was the way to keep thoughts and remember. We design simple drawing to most complicated things. You can express a product in a very distinguished way of design. Design later began to have standards, use of colors, materials, and software. Design is very important to us. Even God designed everything around us in a unique way. Creativity is everywhere. It is part of our everyday life. Everything has a touch of our creativity. As a designer, if we are to solve a visual problem, we would need to provide an effective and timeless solution. At work, oftentimes there are projects that demand fresh concepts. A designer could start designing with the graphic software to try to create a final version. Certain elements have been used like font face or a certain image or clip art on the design. The designer creates one design after another to know what works or not. This unorganized workflow sometimes put a lot of pressure on the designer and could lead to a creative block. Instead of designing subconsciously, let us design consciously. It will be able to explain every element used in the design. It would not only help us to achieve the goal of the design, but also improve the quality of the design. A design process will save a lot of time and energy. A good plan would also elevate companies' branding value in terms of stability and reliability. Design specifics. Specification that provides explicit information about the requirements of a product. It is a traditional kind of specification which has been used historically in public contracting for buildings, highways, and other public works. Essential qualitative and quantitative characteristics that set criteria such as performance requirements, dimensions, and weight. Intensive use of graphic design software places high demands on computer hardware. The requirement is divided into medium-level specifications for studio arts, students' high-level specifications for graphic design. Scripts. A computer script is a list of commands that are executed by a certain program. Scripts may be used to automate processes on a local computer or on the web. For example, DOS scripts and VB scripts may be used to run processes on Windows machines. ASP, JSP, and PHP scripts are often run on web servers to generate dynamic web page content. Script files are usually text documents that contain instructions written in a certain scripting language. It is opened by appropriate scripting engine. The commands within the script are executed. Visual Basic scripts will run when double-clicked, using Windows built-in VB scripting support. In computer programming, a script is a program or sequence of instructions that is carried out by another program rather than by the computer processor. Some languages have been conceived expressly as script languages. Among the most popular are Perl, REXX, JavaScript, and TCL or TK. A JavaScript in a web page runs client-side on the web browser. In general, script languages are easier and faster to code in than the more structured IT-compiled languages such as C and C++. A script takes longer to run than a compiled program since each instruction is being handled by another program first rather than directly by the basic instruction processor. What is a storyboard? A storyboard is a designer's visual representation of what he or she envisions the final project to look like. It typically consists of a series of hand-drawn cells the size of a half sheet of paper. Once a concept or script is written for a film or animation, the next step is to make a storyboard. A storyboard visually tells the story of an animation panel. Your storyboard should convey some of the following information. Characters are in the frame and how they are moving. Characters dialogue between each other. Time has passed between the last frame of the storyboard and the current one, camera position in the scene and distance, close or far away and the camera movements. What is the purpose of the storyboard? The purpose of the storyboard for the designer to determine a logical format for the information to be presented in the multimedia project. This means that the designer will make critical decisions during the storyboarding process, including how information is to be grouped and how specific information is to be represented. Further, navigational decisions will also be made based on the organization of the information. Why make a storyboard? Creating a storyboard will help you to plan your animation shot by shot. You can make changes to your storyboard before you start animating. You will also be able to talk about your animation and show your storyboard to other people to get feedback on your ideas. How do I make a storyboard? Commonly, storyboards are drawn in pen or pencil. If you don't like to draw, you can also take photos. Cut out pictures from magazines to make your storyboards. Keep in mind that your drawings don't have to be fancy. In fact, you want to spend just a few minutes drawing each frame. Use basic shapes, stick figures, and simple backgrounds. Storyboard language. Close-up shots. A close range of distance between the camera and the subject. Dissolve. A transition between two shots, where one shot fades away and simultaneously another shot fades in. High camera angle. A camera angle which looks down on a subject, making it look small, weak, or unimportant. Jump cut. A rapid transition from one frame to the next, either disrupting the flow of time. Level camera angle. A camera angle which is even with the subject. It may be used as a neutral shot. Long shot. A long range of distance between the camera and the subject, often providing a broader range of the setting. Low camera angle. A camera angle which looks up at its subject. It makes the subject seem more important and powerful. Pan. A steady, sweeping movement from one point in a scene to another. POV. Point of view shot. A shot which is understood to be seen from the point of view of a character within the scene. Reaction shot. A shot of someone looking off screen. Tilt. Using a camera on a tripod, the camera moves up or down to follow the action. Zoom. Use of the camera lens to move closely towards the subject. Creating the storyboard. A storyboard is a visual representation of events. The storyboard is informed by the script and uses rough drawings. Storyboarding key scenes that may require a higher degree of planning. It will help to ensure their successful execution. Storyboards can be used for both animation and live action productions. Storyboard generator. Explore storyboarding concepts further with Storyboard Generator. Choose a script and create a storyboard and build your own storyboard using background, location, and photographs. Save and share your storyboard video with friends. Advantages and effectiveness of storyboards. It helps catalyze feelings about the feasibility of the program idea, and omissions may be spotted as a result of producing the storyboard. There is a document which everyone can point to as a common point of reference, enabling the design team. The storyboard helps focus on the total content of the program, both from the point of view of the overall size of the program and in discussing user interaction times. Problems may be spotted from the storyboard. A detailed storyboard can save time in writing project documentation. Example, in the production of the product specification documents. Advanced planning can result in templates for the content writer to work with. This speeds up the content writing process and makes the production of the storyboard itself so much faster. Measuring the true effectiveness of storyboarding is of course problematic. There is a lack of data from commercial developers, and questions must be asked of the reliability of what data is available. Few developers are keen to costs of program revision arising from weaknesses in planning. But if storyboarding has a role to play in the design process, then studying how to go about it the right way must influence product design. The main benefit of storyboarding is that it illustrates what the interface would do. Additional benefits of storyboarding are understanding how technology reshapes human activity and influencing the understanding of the reaction to a system. Storyboards are also a good way to help members of the project team. Storyboards are more meaningful than flowcharts and other more technical diagrams that the audience will pose questions that are useful for requirements on product use. A way of gain early stage design feedback. It does not require programming skills, does not require artistic skills. Storyboard provides a quick way to sketch the design ideas. Flowchart. A flowchart is used to show the different paths a user may take when they interact with a multimedia product. Standard symbols are used on flowcharts. The symbols and their meanings are given here. Start or end of flowchart. A web page. Screen, slide or action. Interaction or decision point. Direction of flow. Common flowchart symbols. Different flowchart symbols have different meanings. The most common flowchart symbols are terminator, an oval flowchart shape indicating the start or end of the process. Process, a rectangular flowchart shape indicating a normal process flow step. Decision, a diamond shape indicating a branch in the process flow. Connector, a small, labeled, circular flowchart shape used to indicate a jump in the process flow, shown as the circle with the letter A. Data, a parallelogram that indicates data, input or output for a process. Document, used to indicate a document or report. Why use a flowchart? Flowcharting allows you to break down any process into bite-sized sections and display them in shorthand form. That way, your audience can easily see the logical flow and relationship between steps. Flowcharts are an important tool across various industries and careers, since they are a clear, concise method of displaying information. Plus, flowcharts can convey data in a visually pleasing way, so your work looks professional and communicates its information effectively. When to make a flowchart? Flowcharts are ideal for communicating a step-by-step process to others. You may also want to create a flowchart if you are confused about the process. The act of mapping out the steps in flowchart format can clarify your own understanding. When a process is particularly complex, flowcharts allow you to focus intently on each step or element, so you don't get overwhelmed by the bigger picture. Drawing a flowchart might be helpful when defining, analyzing, or discussing a process or a set of processes. Drawing a step-by-step picture of the process for your own or others' understanding. Standardizing or finding areas for improvement in a process. Computer programming flowchart examples demonstrate the way code is organized, visualize the execution of code within a program, show the structure of a website or application, understand how users navigate a website or program. Writing a script. Your script will need a title page. This will include the title and your name, but it will also include your contact information and your agent's information if you have an agent. Use the correct font, margins and breaks. You will need to use Courier font, typewriter font, 12 point when writing your script. This will give it a more professional appearance, but it is also key for making it easier to read. Similarly, you should use the correct indentations for each part of your script, as it will help the reader differentiate between dialogue, scene description, etc. Give helpful details about the setting and characters. Use slug lines before each scene. These say whether the action is taking place inside or outside, what the location is, and if it is day or night. Go in all caps above or next to their dialogue, depending on what you are writing for. You can also put instructions such as passes in parentheses. Use the correct formatting for your intended method of presentation. If you want to write a movie script, then you will have to write your script in that format. If you want to write a play script, then you will have to write your script in that format. While they are largely similar, there are distinct differences and learning them all can take time. Read lots of scripts in your intended medium to see how the pros do it. Make sure you haven't written too much. Scripts usually last about 1 minute per page, though there is certainly some wiggle room. Scripts are not like books in that word counts. It is a definite way to gauge length. Screen layout design. The primary purposes of graphic design are to create a clear visual hierarchy of contrast. So, you can see at a glance what is important and what is peripheral. Define functional regions of the page. Group page elements that are related so that you can see structure in the content. A simple page grid establishes discrete functional areas, and adequate negative space defines the figure-ground relationships for the page. The page uses familiar principles of page layout, and users can easily predict the location of major content and functional elements. Crowded pages confuses the figure-ground relationships of page elements by creating an ambiguous field of visual texture with little contrast to draw the eye and few landmarks to help the user to understand content organization. Crowded elements also cause 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 effects, adding visual confusion. As you design the HTML and CSS for menu lists, content lists, page header, graphics, and other design elements, always consider the spacing, grouping, similarity, and overall visual logic of the patterns you create on the page so that you provide easily seen structure, not confusing detail. Consistency. Establish a layout grid style for handling your text and graphics, and then apply it consistently to build rhythm and unity across the pages of your sites. Repetition is not boring. It gives your site a consistent graphic identity that creates and then reinforces a distinct sense of place and makes your site memorable. Example: the Hiram College homepage banner sets the graphic theme for the site and introduces distinctive typography and a set of navigation tabs. Note how the typography and the navigation theme are carried over to the interior banners. Human-computer interaction. The term human-computer interaction (HCI) in widespread use since early 1980s. Roots in other disciplines. Systematic study of human performance already started in the beginning of last century. Ergonomics or human factors. Physical, psychological and theoretical aspects. Original name: man-machine interaction. Simplicity, 10 laws. Reduce. The simplest way to achieve simplicity is through thoughtful reduction. Organize. Organization makes a system of many appear fewer. Time. Savings in time feel like simplicity. Learn. Knowledge makes everything simpler. Differences. Simplicity and complexity need each other. Context. What lies in the periphery of simplicity is definitely not peripheral. Emotion. More emotions are better than less. Trust. In simplicity, we trust. Failure. Some things can never be made simple. The one. Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Hypermedia and navigation. The hypermedia methodology of e-learning combines the web technologies and multimedia formats to provide a learner-led framework of learning. Hypermedia computer files are hypertext documents which include not only text but pictorial and oral information. A hypermedia program for e-learning consists of a database of information with multiple methods of navigation and features to facilitate learning. Two components are necessary for a hypermedia program to be successful. It must have a clear and well-reasoned purpose. It must be designed in accordance with that purpose. Structure for hypermedia. Hypermedia programs consist of many pages, each of which contains multimedia objects: text, images, sound, videos, animations that are linked to other objects or pages. A particular element object can be linked to several other elements. For example, pointing to a word might display its definition, whereas clicking on it might transport you to a page with greatly expanded information on the topic. Hypermedia programs do not have the traditional organization of sequential pages. This is contrary to approaches such as tutorials, drills, and simulations. The pages can be traversed in many different sequences, which is difficult to estimate in advance. Hypermedia formats. There are several hypermedia formats that can be used in e-learning, depending on the purpose of learning. The most common of them are encyclopedic reference, specific subject matter reference, analysis of a domain, case study, construction sets, edutainment, museum, and archive. Navigation and orientation. Navigation, getting where you want to go. Orientation, knowing where you are and where the information you want. Hypermedia disorientation and poor navigation are the most important problems in learning from hypermedia. Navigation methods in hypermedia: hyperlinks, menus, indexes, table of contents, searching, bookmarks, and histories. Orientation devices: maps, timelines, menus, text cues. Factors affecting hyperlinks. Although several methods of navigation are provided in hypermedia programs, the primary type is hyperlinks. A number of factors are relevant to hyperlinks. Types of links: text, labels, pictures, parts of picture, icons, movies, parts of movies, etc. Purpose of links: encyclopedia, definitions, analysis of a domain, multiple perspectives, etc. Density of links: readability, disorientation, visibility, screen location, confirmation, semantic queuing, distance, local versus distant websites, modifiability.